Yeah, and that's where playing versus heroes like the TA and the Mars, it's absolutely brutal. Now, in the Faceless Void, they do counter out the Shadow Demon a little bit as well, just doesn't really care about the 4 position anymore, so your carry is not going to be too afraid if he does get disrupted or hit up with the Purge, but at the same time, I think that this TA on Lava side was almost necessity because now you have a little bit of that lockdown, you have a little bit of that setup when it comes to defending these areas, especially around the Roche pit. And not to mention, with the TA, there's now going to be a reason for Infamous to come out of their base. They can't just sit on their side of the map with their cooldowns and wait for their spells. You can actually draw them towards those areas, and I think that's where Lava could look for almost their dream fight here. Now, Infamous banned Dazzle.
Right, yeah.
That is out of left field, I think, a little bit here, but I can kind of see it saying that maybe it. I can't see it. I'm thinking about it right now. Would it be then a 4 Ogre Magi, a 3 Shadow Demon, and then a mid Mars for Leo style? Which, sure, I can see that maybe, but Lava also don't have last pick here, so they do have to solidify their draft before Infamous do. Uh, but yeah, that ban is kind of out of left field for me. They're running a little bit on reserve time, but I think more likely they're just going to be looking for their mid or their carry, depending on what they want to go for with this TA.
Yeah, well, I was kind of hoping you had an answer when I saw that Dazzle ban. Apparently, the answer is no. Maybe they were afraid of the Dazzle in the court position, TA at the 1, put Leo style on Mars mid, and then, I don't know, try to run a Frank Dazzle. But even if that were the case, if that is what's happening here, I'm not really sure that that's something you're so afraid of that you were willing to use one of your final bans on it. But you know what? It's Infamous's call to make, and they made it. And maybe Lava are sitting there thinking, you know, damn, they figured out our Dazzle strat. But I do doubt that a little bit. Either way, though, we are moving right along. One final ban from that Lava side. Took out the Viper already, and well, now you really do have to sort of make a call. Flip a coin, whatever, on where you think that Death Prophet is actually going to end up.
Yeah, and I am posing the question in my mind what Oscar could play if he doesn't want to end up on this Death Prophet. Again, Timbersaw's still in the pool, but do you want to play Timbersaw versus TA and a Shadow Demon? It's not the best option. And I think that's why Lava are leaving it open. That definitely be Infamous's choice to make. But they do need maybe a little bit of lockdown here. I think this is a lineup where Infamous almost require a playmaker in between their big cooldowns because, well, if they don't have something like that, then they're just going to be stuck on their side of the map, forced to give up towers, and very possibly Roshan if they misuse their spells here. And I'm thinking of the heroes that Oscar could play in that same vein. It's probably easier to find it from your mid, honestly, at this point, but they could look for something like the Centaur, or they could look for perhaps, I don't know, I'm thinking of spirits that maybe we could see alone stretch out to play, but I honestly think that they're going to leave their options open until Lava make their final selection here. And then the question's back on to Lava. Do you want to run this TA as a carry? Of course, Kataro, it does feel like his hero. And actually, no, they switch it. That's going to be a Kataro Luna, and it must be, for a second, I thought it's going to be a Frank TA, but no, it has to be Leo style TA now. But that is quite the lane to all in on, especially because isn't there a Huskar pick right now for Infamous? And isn't that Infamous's hero? I mean, it's into Shadow Demon, but maybe it's a little bit too crazy. But I feel like if they were just going to all in on counterpicking their opponents here, I mean, 10 seconds left. The writing's going to be on the wall in a second here. No, okay. Safe choice. Safe choice.
Maybe the less exciting choice, but at this point, if you're alone and Infamous in general, you're down 0-1 in this series. Maybe safe is better than excitement at this point, because this is a must-win game for them. So we go with the Queen of Pain. That is pretty much assuredly pushing your Death Prophet into the off lane for Oscar. But here's the thing. The Queen of Pain kind of falls into a similar category as the Prophet, the Snapfire, the Faceless Void. Your Sonic Wave is still not really on the shortest of cooldowns, so that's a hero that can maybe make some plays in between your big ults, but she is not immune to the same concerns.
No, it's very expensive, but at the same time, it is also just going to have a relatively decent time versus the TA as well. There are multiple reasons why they go for this hero, but unfortunately, they didn't pick up that time-to-time initiator that I kind of wanted from them, but they do just have a very strong hero in the current patch. Not to mention, they get to pick it versus Luna, and Luna has to run at the target that she's right-clicking. It's not a free-ranged hero. It's always a little bit more difficult for her specifically, especially if she is getting knocked around by that Sonic Wave, as we've seen so many quad players in the tournament just use their Sonic Waves beautifully when it comes to saving teammates, forcing opponents into horrible positions because of that pushback. But that's also where, if Infamous aren't careful with their spell usage, if they use one or two too many ultimates, the Luna can just take everything. And I think that is the big danger of this game. If Lava can just bide their time, maybe play around Roche, if they ever get an Aegis, things look pretty scary for Infamous, where Infamous do have to ride this very tight line where, well, our opponents are pushing onto our tower. We have none of our abilities. We have to make space elsewhere.
Well, here we go. Sort of do or die time for Infamous, as they are trying to fight their way back into the series. I say do or die, technically speaking, that's not really the case. If Infamous do lose this, they drop down to the lower bracket, but that's not a place that you really want to be. They'd be going up against a wildcard gaming lineup that just 2-0'd APU King of Kings, so not exactly a squad lacking in confidence or momentum. So it'd be all the more important to try and fight your way back into this series, keep that upper bracket run alive for as long as you possibly can. But we'll see if Infamous have put something together here, if they can fight around those big ult timers, take this game, or if Lava about to finish off the 2-0 sweep. As we see competing smokes coming out here early, Infamous are going to look for the longer wraparound, and if they get all the way down and come up from the south, this could work quite nicely, because that ward vision, it's too far to the north for them to spot anything.
Yeah, this is an interesting wrap. Honestly, the best wrap we've seen so far, because like you said, there's pretty much always someone contesting that spot, and with Frank, he's got the shards.
Though. Frank's able to get the pushback on the spear. Meanwhile, Alone went in a very awkward direction. He may be forced to skill the blink just to live. Or, well, he's just gonna die. Okay. Good news, at least, is that Infamous got first blood by killing Frank earlier, but that is a bit of a detriment in your middle lane, and at this point the fight is still going. Look at those stacks of poison starting to get up here. Affliction may just die straight up. That is a very nice play from Sladen to try and keep his teammate alive. Will it be enough? I think so. I think he's just barely got the regen.
I love it when you resist.
Yeah, it's still gonna hurt though, and we'll see. Yeah, there it goes. 150 HP left, but hey, you got kind of what you wanted there. And Infamous, they do get first blood, right? They send the Mars packing towards that top lane, but I think losing Alone there, and especially having him use his Fairy Fire, not the nicest way to start this mid lane.
He does show up to lane. He's got another Fairy Fire, and I think the most important aspect there, I said he might have to skill the blink to get away. He chooses to eat the death rather than, frankly, ruin his lane. Because if he comes to lane against a TA with a level 1 blink and nothing else, you basically just sit there and watch Leo style last hit. So the death is unfortunate, but at least you sort of salvage and don't end up making a play that would really just ruin the next 5 minutes of your game.
It's definitely gonna feel a lot nicer, as well as Leo style really struggling to get said last hits. He's gonna feel the pressure alleviate once he has those points in refraction, and it's been a while since he's actually played this hero in a pro game, especially. It's usually always Katara's hero, but they just feel like this time around, the Luna's going to be a better fit for him.
Yeah, and to be fair, as much as we like to see the TA in recent times played as that carry, the Luna is immovable. You can't really play her anywhere other than the carry position, so that's going to have to be the way that it is, and we'll see how well the Luna sort of lanes down here, because this duo, they can afford to play up a little bit here. Sladen, gonna hit level 2, has the point in the tag team. If you can get tag team shards and maybe a long duration siphon there, you're gonna be able to get onto the Luna preferably, but even the Ogre. He is so tanky in the early stages, but how much damage against him could still stick?
Yeah, and I think that's where they do still continuously go for this Ogre pick, for the reason that just he is the stopper. He is the man that sits in between. He's the one who almost assures you that you're not going to lose this lane, and I think even though it looks pretty nifty and they are going to charge him up, I'm almost certain Katyu's just going to walk away from this. Yep.
Should be fine. Turns around for the stun. Now Sladen's got to be a little careful. Kataro's holding the mana for the Lucent, but not going to pull the trigger there. So, well, half right. The damage does stick, forces out Tango and Salve, but not going to be able to get the kill. You should be just fine for now, and if they try to make that move again, Sladen really doesn't have the health to survive it this time. So, I feel like at least in the first couple of minutes here, a big hurdle has been passed. Kataro is now going to feel much safer until Sladen heals up.
Yeah, there really isn't going to be much that, especially the Tusk can do, but that's where, without the boots as well, not seeing the couriers get sniped out nearly as much as we've seen for the rest of the tournament. And actually, Sladen, okay, Caillou didn't want to press for that, even though he totally could have Mango Fire Blasted, but, I mean, keeping the Tusk low is almost just as good as killing him at this stage. I think the gold is honestly well spent because Kataro is just having a free lane right now, having a very easy time. Gonna try though.
Sladen comes back with full health and mana. Oof. Then Kataro's in even more trouble. But now Sladen, this is the play you couldn't afford, right? We were just saying he's got to heal up. He pops some stick charges, but that's not going to be enough. And now rather than aggression, you give up. Very greedy play. That's a kill into the hands of the Luna that you couldn't afford.
Yeah, we'll have to see, because Oscar does have a very linear growth here in terms of his power, but they could immediately swing this game. But damn, this shards, it's rough. But unfortunately, I think Kattyu is maybe actually going to go down here. Okay, that's that level 2 Siphon for you. Does way more damage than the level 1, but at the same point, you're going to be looking for that trait of the Ogre.
Yeah, now your Ogre can come back to lane. He's going to be full up, maybe even bring out an item for Kataro, as Sladen is just free-firing these shards, really not caring too much about the mana cost, and Kataro's getting pushed back. He might actually just die here. They need assistance. They're not going to get it. Katyu's TP in is too slow, and you know, when they first started that play ET, I doubted they were going to get anything out of it, and I think Kataro sort of felt the same way, didn't show him the respect, and well, your Luna's not that durable. It was just a stick, not a wand, didn't have any further regen, so that is a big kill for Infamous to get, and it's kind of strange how casually they went about it.
Yeah, it's just a melee creep and the boys coming down, and that wouldn't even have happened if you didn't have the Siphon, but it barely came up off cooldown. And I think that's why Katara felt so safe, is just mistiming that spell specifically. But hey, returns in the top lane, getting a nice kill. I think that's just simply 5 stacks and not able to dodge it out with the Shadow Demon. So you do just eat that immediately.
Good play from Kim there to get that kill. It leaves Affliction in a spot where he's going to soak up some experience. That's certainly nice, but Lumiere's going to come back to lane maybe a little bit upset with himself for getting picked off there. But this death this early on, I don't think it's going to set him back too significantly, although it is worth noting, if you look at that last hit count for him, he's a little ways behind really all the cores on the lava side. So there is a little bit of ground to make up here as he returns to the lane.
Yeah, and that's where, unfortunately, Faceless Void just can't contest for his own range CS. That's why I think A has 5 blast hits, is because every single one of those scatter blasts is going to getting the XP, nice. But yeah, clean mid.
They had to wait out the disruption as Kim did TP in, but alone, the timing is perfect. He gets the Sonic Wave just as your TA was coming out, no time for a meld or refraction. That is the response, perfectly done by Infamous. Sladen is gonna look for a little bit more. Can he win this fight straight up, though? There's a Fairy Fire and some stick charges on Kim. He is gonna pop them now, and I think Sladen gets taken down. Ooh. Yeah. He's trying to do a little bit too much on that one. I don't think he spotted out the fire and the stick until it was too late.
No, very nicely played from him. But hey, there hasn't been a lot of time, though, because of how successful this Shadow Demon has been. Look over at this triangle. Not nearly as stacked a triangle as we've seen Shadow Demons who have conceded the lane. But I think, honestly, this top lane is a massive success for Lava. Frank is about to hit level 6 minutes into the game. Kim is level 4 with 3 kills. It really feels like now it's just how they can turn this win top into a win everywhere else, while bottom, this is a little bit rough. Not really much you can do here for the Luna unless you bring the Mars here, but he's just barely 1 creep away from level 6. Then maybe you see that arena play, but that's where they surely push the advantage here. And really nicely well played. And look at the Ogre. Do they try further? They should have it.
They really
Yeah.
are going, and yeah, the Exo is just going to make it happen. So Oscar striking while the iron is hot. He hits his 6 before the opposing offlaner, and it gets him 2 kills. Can they get the tower, though? Not just yet. The glyph is going to come through, so they will be held back for the time being, but you see that Luna does not want to be bottom any longer. Understandable for Kataro now making his way top, but does so without level 6, so if they go for this kill, they're going to have to do it without the Eclipse, but there's going to be a nice start off. Frank can just go straight for the spear. He can hold the arena for as long as he wants. Kataro has the Loosen. Will throw it out now, so there's no time walk. That is some perfect timing out from Lava. They get the kill. They'll push onto the tier 1.
Nope, that is perfectly timed. You get the carry before he TPs away towards the off lane, where Infamous have carved out a pretty nice pad for him to actually farm up, but at the same time, you always want to find that trade. And Frank got to hold the arena, so if we do see any aggression over on the mid lane, we could surely see a little bit of contention. But to that mid lane point, Leo Style is having a real rough game here. Alone is really working him right now. I think the denies are still pretty rough and in favor of Alone, but not just that. So many wards here. It's so rough for him to play.
His shards have just not really been consistent at this point, as now they have to back off, which means Frank, he said he didn't use that arena. He pops it now mid. They don't get a kill on to the Queen of Pain, but that pickoff onto the Snapfire is going to free up a little bit of space, and maybe now Leo Style gets a little bit of room to catch up.
No, definitely, and well, we'll see if he goes down mid. But there's not enough mana on Alone. He actually needs to pop his regen rune early here, and I don't think he can do that with that.
Slayden. He's got to hit those. They might still get the kill. Okay. They will be able to do so, but they're going to lose the Tusk. That should have been much more clean on the kill, but they're still looking for it. Frank dropping low. DOT will take him down, and it looks like it's not going to matter enough for Infamous to really miss out on anything here. They've already found 2 kills. They're looking for the 3rd as Cat U falls, and now they got the Chrono. It's going to just barely clip onto Kim, so they've got the Shadow Demon caught. They'll take him down as well. Triple kill for Alone, and well, Slayden does end up paying with his life, and it's another instance where the shards are a little off the mark, but not off the mark enough where his teammates can't just barrel their way through. Lava didn't think there was that much coming their way.
Yeah, and honestly, Infamous are playing really nicely right now. They're playing fast enough. They're not letting the TA get set up with the traps, making it impossible to get into the triangle area, because you look over at the Radiant Triangle, there is no way to breach in. They see absolutely everything in terms of Lava's rotations, and well, they used their abilities. Now it's time for Infamous to peel back a little bit. You're about to get your level 6 on your Snapfire, and then maybe you can look for a play after that. But the worst thing they could do right now is play into Frank, is to give Mars another kill here. And they do have the Exorcism. We could see a push onto this mid tower, but they're also being very patient here. They don't want to push it just kind of for free and then throw that out there. But the Ogre, that's a reason to pop the Exo. But here's Frank. Gotta be careful.
The spear, but that's all he's gonna do. Spear is not enough to save the day as Oscar picks up another kill, and well, now do they have the manpower to defend this? He's still holding the arena on that Mars. They've got a TP coming in. Kataro going to arrive. Now the Eclipse. They're gonna blow up everything. Oscar's dead. Slayden's down. Alone even got hit up by one of those beams, but not quite close enough to keep the aggression going. But I think really they got what they wanted. They save their tower. They get 2 big kills. Kataro gets himself involved at the perfect time, and they're in a position maybe for a counter push here, because their creep wave is here, and where's the response out from Infamous? Affliction will TP in, but they're going to try to immediately get onto him. Make sure those Mortimer Kisses can't come into play. As they get the spear stunned down, the Ignite flies through, and that's just going to be A taken down. They find the kill. That does buy time for the Tusk to get back in, I suppose, but is this really going to work? They're looking for the snowball. Neither that nor the shards will hit, and now Slayden, you're too far forward. The spear pins him to his own shards. They're not going to get what they wanted. They might still get Kim here. Yeah, Crypt Swarm from long range will do the job, but well, they were really hoping to catch out Kataro. Instead, it's just a support kill, but they saved their tower. That's got to count for something.
Yeah, and well, with I think 4 heroes here, it should still be brute force down, but it is brute force. They need to all stay here. They can't afford to split off just yet, and importantly, it dragged the Lumiere out of his own jungle. So even though they do lose it at the end of the day, they're not going to be too pressed for that. But we saw there, you have to be so careful if you're Oscar. You can't really afford to run ahead, especially if you don't know where the Shadow Demon is playing. We saw what 5 stacks of poison and the purge on that Death Prophet does, and if you die as soon as you cast that exorcism, it's exactly what Lava need to do. They need to find the burst damage there, and usually with Shadow Demon, you talk about how all your damage is delayed, but both teams smoke, and well, they're gonna clip.
Snowball onto Frank. Frank's gonna actually not try to pull this back, trying to stay in the area as he drops down the arena, but Lumiere faster on the draw. There's gonna be the Chrono into the Mortimer Kisses. Frank dropping low, taken down. Kim will fall as well. Sonic Wave in. Ends up not being really necessary there, and, well, doesn't really help them get onto the Templar Assassin, but they still find 2 big kills. And that's just better from Lumiere. Better patience. Gets in with the Chrono, waits until the move had been made by Frank, and punishes them pretty heavily.
Yep. And as we always talk about with the Death Prophet, it's just as much as you running in with your exorcism as it is about that silence. The way you break up engagements, and you especially break it up for that Mars. So many times does that arena go down and then is just immediately thrown out by the ball, and then suddenly you don't get your kill, you don't get your pick. That was an expensive fight, though. They used every cooldown in their repertoire except for the exorcism. That's why Oscar is kind of being the spearhead right now when it comes to looking for their next play. But if they can just bide their time, they're trying to be aggressive, I think, a little haphazardly right now, because they could just wait for that next Chrono. Their opponents are really the ones that need to look for that next engagement. And I think we might have caught them in a little bit of a lull here, because Frank, well, he's got to finish his Blink Dagger. Can't really afford to just run around and look for plays that aren't going to net him that money that is eventually going to be spent on the Blink. I think that's where we might see a little bit of a pause in the game right now.
The pause, though, at least to this point, is benefiting Lava, because the likes of Kataro and Leostyle are not really getting amazingly pressured by these moves out from Infamous. You see Leostyle, he had such a just bad start to this game. You look at his net worth now, he's surpassed Oscar and moved into the top 3, whereas the Luna never really left that top spot, as they will try to make a move now onto Frank. He's going to pop the arena and look to turn around, so he may not have the Blink Dagger, but the target's going to come directly at him. I mean, that's free. You can't really afford to just let that one go, so Infamous maybe just trying to do a little bit too much there, and Lava taking advantage of opportunities.
Yeah, and it's not like Infamous can't take advantage of this timing. They can just farm their jungle, look for BKB on Oscar, which was incredibly important, and, well, they're looking for Leo-style bottom, and they should really connect eventually here, especially with Oscar in with the Siphon slows and the Urn. And yeah, I think it's just a dead TA, especially with the Kisses raining in.
Will he just... Yep, okay, he'll just sit and wait to die. Not really a whole lot else to be done there, so... That is a fantastic move from Infamous. A move, though, that... I don't really know if that should have been available to them. Leostyle obviously wants to maximize farm, but he gets a little bit too close to the lane itself, doesn't show the full respect to those heroes chasing after him, and... I don't know. If he tries for a TP and he gets hit up by the time lock, then you still look a little bit silly, but as it stands, he just had to sit there and wait. Speaking of which, Kim, maybe in a similar boat here. He is going to get hit up. This snowball should cancel the TP. Nobody's really coming over to help right now, though. There's not a lot of sense of urgency, so Kim might actually get himself out of here. Sladen doesn't have the damage to find this kill alone, and yeah, they just kind of let that one go. Nobody comes over in time, so he walks away, and now Frank got in there with the spear. The trap, though, does still trigger. The slow is in. Can Frank connect? Okay. He gets the kill with the damage from the arena. That's a rare one to see, but doesn't really want to go any further. He probably could have afforded to. I don't really think anyone was there until Alone just now arrived, but didn't really know that for sure.
No, but hey, that's your money to Blink Dagger. Now you have it. Still need to be careful, though. It definitely feels like Infamous are still playing to their own timings, and I do think this pause has greatly helped them, especially with the Death Prophet being very, very close to that BKB, but that's where Kataro, we're not seeing the same build that we typically see from the Luna. We've only seen the Luna maybe 2 or 3 times here, but it's always been Lance, BKB, Crystallis, Ag Shard. That has been the build-up because you get the BKB a little bit sooner. You have that magic damage to rely on, but instead, Kataro has gone for the hard farming style of this hero, and we'll have to see if it pays out, because he is what I like to call a stat king right now. He's going for Manta, he's going for Scotty, probably going to look for a butterfly afterwards. He's going to try to delay his BKB as much as humanly possible, and in doing so, he's going to be able to push out these waves and farm a little bit faster, but it just means he's not going to necessarily be battle ready. You're playing into Infamous's spells just a little bit more than some Lunas have been comfortable in thus far this tournament.
Right, and of course, having the Manta means, you know, you're still going to be able to dodge out maybe something like the Silence from the Death Prophet, but it doesn't do you much good against a lot of that other lockdown. But if you're picking up this Manta for the purposes of trying to just sort of farm up, you're not really anticipating running into some of those other heroes in the first place. Although, as I say that, Taro does switch things up a little bit here, looking for the BKB as that next item, so... well... now I'm not 100% sure what this build is, because once you get the BKB, you are very intimidating on the Luna, but since you went after that Manta first, you gotta wonder just how much damage the Luna will then have to work with outside of just popping the Eclipse.
Yeah, it's 2 defensive items in a row. It's a little bit awkward for certain, but it could also be that he's trying to sync up his item timing with perhaps the BKB of the TA, so they have an easier time getting into the Roche pit, or... well, Sladen?
This is not the hero that they want, but they don't really have a choice. They've got to jump on Sladen. Should be an easy kill. Leo Style's going to be able to pick it up, but yeah, there you go. There's an objective for you. Get that mid-tower alone says... nope, not even a little bit worth it, as he will back away, but Frank is still going. Still a little bit of time on that smoke, and he's caught a target. They get in onto the snap. They'll even leave it for Leo Style to pick up the kill. That is a very nice touch from Frank, getting that extra money over to the TA, and do they go for Roche? They've got Kataro here, they've got Leo Style here. Neither one of them have that sort of big damage item yet, but with both of them going for it, they don't really need it, but this isn't going as quickly as they might like it to be, and got to be aware that Sonic Wave is there, that Chronosphere is available, so they are not actually going to go all in for it. They leave Roche with about half HP. The question is, do they stick around? Because Infamous are now pushing their way forward. They could try to bait their opponents in here.
Do they EXO and just do it anyway? Oh, this is nice. They need a scan, otherwise this is way too fast. That was also just a really nicely placed ward from Infamous the entire time, and this is too late. Yeah, there you go.
Just get Roche for free. Now they might get Katyu as well. Shard's perfectly placed to block off the ramp, and well, I get backing out of the pit. Oh, hold on. They actually caught Lumiere. They can get through that Aegis right now, but can they deal with Oscar? The EXO is still going. Frank is dropping low. He's going to look to TP out. Not going to make it. Oscar grabs the double. Lava just have no choice but to back off, and back to the point, I can understand backing off the pit because you don't want to get caught by things like the Sonic and the Chronosphere, but to completely abandon the pit to the point where you aren't even in position to then contest it when Infamous goes in, just feels like maybe going one step too far.
Yeah, and well, at the very least, Aegis doesn't really matter for Infamous. It's going to be a nice tool maybe later down the line for Lumiere, but that was also a lot of their ultimates here. They still have the Chrono in the Kisses, so we could see them look for maybe a re-engage after the fact here, but I think really them using their spells like that, it's to keep the Aegis out of the hands of the TA, out of the hands of the Luna, making sure that there's no easy way for those two heroes to still get on top of your tier 2s, and of course, no tier 2s have been touched on the Dire side really up until this point, but that's also where is Infamous too scared to make a play right now? Are they really just going to wait for their exorcism yet again? Because they very likely could. There really isn't a reason for them to press the issue unless Lava come knocking on their door, but that's also where Lava have no intention of doing so. They want BKB on Luna, they want Desu on TA. They're just going to bide their time, and that's where Infamous, aside from the Chronosphere, it's an inherent problem of the Faceless Void. They don't have someone to kill the towers after the exorcism is spent. They just kind of need to dogpile and then get their damage in that way, but it's still a little bit of a struggle here. Slane, though, making the plays. Might be a dead Katyu.
Looking for it. Frank thinking about going in. There's going to be the arena into the spear stun. They've locked down Sladen first, but they also catch A, but now here comes Lumiere looking for the Chrono. He's actually going to get hit up instead. Now he's got to use it defensively. And what can they do here? Oscar gives it a go, but the disruption will be there defensively. Oscar, meanwhile, did get hit up by that Purge. He has to try and TP out, but the damage is too much. They'll take him down. Lumiere still looking for his out. The Time Walk, though, already used. The spear stun locks him in, and that is terrible. Let's not mince words here. That was multiple sort of big ults used, not only do you fail to get the kills that you wanted, you lose everyone other than the Queen of Pain, who only lives because she wasn't there.
Yeah, and I don't think they're gonna try and breach the high ground, and no, they're gonna take the farm instead, but it's just a little bit of a miscommunication there, and of course, you lost Sladen right off the bat. It's a really good arena from Frank, also breaking up the jump that came from the cookie, but I think forcing that fight, just really ugly from them, and okay, whiff spear from Frank there, and now is Leo dead because of it? That was also a really short blink because he tried to get the rune. Okay, greed all around, but
Yeah, they
yeah.
are paying for this one, but now here comes Kataro pushing in. That is Alone's cue to leave. He will get out, but it means Sladen is going to be sacrificed. But you take that. You get the Templar Assassin, and I don't know what happened there with Frank. He massively mistimed that spear. If they get the connection, maybe they can find that kill with the TA's damage, but without it, your TA just gets straight up eaten.
Yeah, okay, got the TA kill, maybe one that you didn't deserve, but the still larger problem is this Luna now, because if Infamous don't find a kill onto him, the fights are getting really difficult, especially after the fact. I think that's where this next Exorcism, it needs to be a one fight for them. Otherwise, we could see them losing really big momentum here. Not to mention Kataro, well, he just finished his BKB, now he's going back for the Scotty, and then well, your Faceless Void can't really afford to stick around. You can't really afford to just run at this Luna as you should be able to with the Death Prophet because, well, he bought a 5,000 gold item. It makes you wonder if Infamous are maybe taking the game a little bit too slow at this rate, and it's where their misusage of their ultimates, it's gonna really come back to haunt them. And, well, Frank did a little bit of a weird spear on the Oscar there, just kind of poking, but the plays are halting for Infamous, and that is very disconcerting right now, especially because Lava, well, they are still fighting you. They are still looking around the river for picks, and you are not out farming them right now.
Yeah, you're not going to win the farming game at the moment, and you know, when we talked about them playing around those big cooldowns, that was assuming, or at least I was assuming, they were going to go on those cooldowns. Lumiere sort of has been holding the Chronosphere for a little while now. The past 2 or 3 times it's come up, and if you wait that long, if you show that hesitation, plays like this will happen. Frank has the BKB, excuse me, not the BKB, but the Blink to sort of jump in and initiate. Now Oscar, he's just getting blown up. Lumiere, that looked like it would have been a nice chrono. The problem is Oscar would not have been able to turn around and fight, and at this point it doesn't matter. He dies either way as Kim gets that last bit of damage in with the Purge, so you needed to be constantly using these ults. Basically, every time it was up, they needed to try and make a play. They hesitate once or twice, and that's all it takes for Lava to shift momentum pretty significantly.
Yeah, and now, well, there are some concerns that are sprouting up here. They're getting a few too many core picks. Your BKB, I think, is already down to 6 seconds on the Death Prophet, so that purge timing is just absolutely ruthless. Not to mention that, well, Roche is going to be kind for now. We'll see how much he favors Infamous, but if you hit that with the Scotty timing, and Katara actually has the Scotty, he just needs to send it out to him. This would be a big pick, and again, they're looking for the Void. They need to stop this.
And they got the
Oh, no.
stun. There's a nice snowball from Sladen, though. That may be enough to save the fight as Lumiere will jump away. Sladen's reward will be death, but he got the VIP out of there.
Whew.
They do lose the tower off the back end, though, but, I mean, that was going to happen. There's no defense of that tier 2 right now, but now... well, Scotty finished off. The Disruption Illusions are going to try and go to work, whittling away at those towers, and Infamous need to do something to alleviate this pressure, but what can they do? Lumiere not going to throw out that Chrono just yet. They really would love to wait until Sladen's back in, so might be a few seconds more for them, but where do they look for their fight? Where do they make their stand right now? Because if you take this fight and you lose, Lava are just going to go straight into your base.
Yeah, simply the stakes at this point for Infamous are you lose on your side of the map, you're going to either get the glyph forced out of you very quickly, or more importantly, you're going to lose a tier 3 tower. And as we always talk about with Luna, as soon as that tier 3 tower is done, it's so difficult to defend the racks that falls because of the glaives that bounce, because of the almost impossible initiation that you have to make. And I like this from Infamous. They need to find the wraparound. They need to poke their opponents here and get a wasted disruption, get a whiffed arena. They need to take away some of these defensive tools. And Frank, he is just so calm right now, sitting in the tree line, really banking on the fact that this ward is not placed upon an enemy ward here, and they're going all the way around. They would love to find the Shadow Demon first. let their Death Prophet run wild a little bit here, but here's the problem. Lava have the easy solution. If they start hitting this tier 3 mid, well, they're going to know exactly where you are, and they are running the world tour right now. They have run all the way around to the opposite side of the map. But you almost wonder if they swung a little bit too hard. I think Lava just stayed a little bit too close to their enemies, and in doing so, dodged out the smoke perfectly.
Yeah, this is just not going to work. This is taking way too long and covering too much ground. So, yeah, Lava don't care. And now they start to get suspicious. There's a creep wave at the tier 3, and there's not a soul in sight. So, they didn't sort of suspect something was up before. They certainly have to now. The question is, how do they track down where Infamous are at the moment? Because that is still a bit of a question for them.
Oh. Well, that's Glyph. That is a really rough situation, and who gets caught now? I think A is going to be for free, but no one else needs to stay in that area, and I think they're just going to get dewarded on the way back here. They didn't even reclaim their outpost there, because they were afraid of how fast the response from Lava was going to be, but this is a really tense game now. Without Glyph, the stakes, again, have risen for Infamous. If they misuse anything, they can brute force their way, especially onto that mid tower, because it only has 1,000 HP remaining. And unfortunately for them, they got the Roche timer that really heavily favored Lava because, well, that was your smoke. Maybe you could have smoked with a minute left on the Roche and then checked it, saw if you got the earliest timer and then took it instead. But now, Lava get to really take control of this entire area of the map. And as long as they maintain this hill, well, there's no way that Infamous are going to find initiation, especially with that chrono.
Well, missed opportunities have kind of been the name of the game for Infamous to this point, as they're down now. Well, down by 10k, but this is the problem with the way that they sort of constructed this lineup. They can't really afford to change up their tactics, right? They still have to rely on... Sladen's able to TP away. They still have to rely on chaining these ults together in a big enough way to take a fight, so maybe the way they look for those fights can change, but the overall game plan has to remain pretty stable as Lava are going to try and make the move in. That's a big silence from Alone, though. That's going to... Oh, well... Who cares? Silence is not big enough. If you lose Lumiere there, then it's just done. There's nothing more to be done. Does he have money for buyback? He's nearly 400 gold short, so... Your Lava... Now is your moment. Roshan is respawning, but they could try to push the high ground right now. And which one do they want to go for? It looks like for now they're doubling back towards the pit.
Yeah, they have the trap to scout it out, and without Lumiere, there's no way Infamous take this fight at all. And now you have exactly what your carry needs to break onto the high ground. It's not like Infamous have 2 sets of spells. They have to kill Kataro the first time without it, and that is the backbreaker. That is where Kataro might just snowball this game out of control. He's got the shard as well, and not to mention, I think that's a half of a Daedalus on his courier, which is just going to park at the secret shop. So once this is done, there's going to be so much damage coming out from that Luna. We already saw how fast Lumiere died before, and now the problem is just exasperated, and I think part of that was because of Kataro having the level 20, just having that night vision bonus, and of course Infamous were striking in the night, trying to play upon their opponents, and it just really failed in a catastrophic way because, well, what do you do now? This is still a tier 2 up bottom. You can really only lose 2 racks if something horrible does happen here, but there is no easy entrance onto Kataro. You need to somehow whittle him down. He doesn't have a healer. He doesn't have a satanic. That's the good news. The problem is you still don't have Glyph, and well, they might try to get this poke going, but the problem is once this tier 3 is gone, they're just going to have to pretty much solely, I really think, concede this racks. I don't know what they do after. The bounces are going to happen, and then everyone has to back up even further.
Yeah, Infamous, you're starting to feel the walls closing in around them here as they are running out of options. You need to try and do something, but you really can't afford to, as the first lane of racks will fall. Kataro showing no fear, pushing forward. Alone has to blink back. Tier 3 will fall, and this should be a pretty simple second lane. Infamous just... They can't do anything, really. If they take a fight right now, it has to be perfect, but they're not going to hit onto any more than really just Kataro, seeing how far back his teammates are.
Yeah, and okay, Frank has a Wind Waker of all things, but they're jumping the backline. They're trying to ignore Kataro, but will this work?
Murder Kisses are going to come through, but you really do need the Chronosphere to make this work. Sladen's dead. Oscar's gone too, and this just... This is already looking rough. Slayton's going to buy back, but Oscar doesn't have the money for it. Now Frank sees his opening, goes forward, gets silenced up before he can jump, but Leo style, he just blinks in and goes for the kill. They are just running through their opponents right now. Alone is actually just going to jump out of the base, but while he does so, Guitarro says, man, forget that. I'm going for tier 4s. I'm going to go for the win. Frank is going to keep the opponent occupied as he does go down, but the Ancient has been exposed. Infamous, they're out of time. They have to go now. Ancient down to half HP. They'll throw the Chronosphere out, but Guitarro wasn't caught in it. He'll turn around with the Eclipse. Does walk into it afterwards. That's awkward, but who cares? Back to the Ancient. Someone has to come and stop him, and it's not going to be A because he's dead. And they just won't. Wow. GG called that. That is such an anticlimactic end to it, ET. They just never get in front of the Luna.
No, there's just not enough time. They didn't play a tight enough game up until this point, and I hate to say that it's 2 or 3 deaths that come at the cost of Infamous losing this game, but that's really what it feels like. It wasn't a lot. It was a steep cliff that they ended up falling off of, but the tumble really didn't start until 20 minutes into the game, where I think the plays just stopped. It really just happened after they failed to hit that smoke play, I think, and they failed to play around the correct Roche timer, and you can't know about that. You have to go for these kind of Hail Marys, but they were already, I think, struggling to find those clean, concise kills. Not to mention, man, Shadow Demon versus DP is just unplayable. There you go. De facto, every single time that Oscar tried to make a play, especially after his BKB had been used, and he had to go for BKB first just because there's so much magic damage coming out from you, and he even went BKB back into the plate mail, and he's not getting a Yules for a very good reason. Yules doesn't do very much versus Shadow Demon, but, well, there's your matchup right there, because that was brutal. Oscar just, I think he was 7-0-8, something like that, and then his KDA got worse, and then it got worse, and then it got worse, and then suddenly your Death Prophet, who's supposed to be your spearhead onto the fight and your majority of your damage early on, just ends up doing, I want to say, nothing. And then once they get that second Aegis, I really don't know how Infamous actually progress into the fight. They just simply ran out of time. And I mean, what an advantage to push for Lava.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Well, okay, not funny if you're Infamous, but funny from our perspective. You look at Oscar's stat line, you talked about it sort of tanking. Tanking is I feel like that's too harsh of a word. 9, 4, and 7 is still respectable, but it just goes to show, as you were saying, how strong the Shadow Demon is as a counter, because your Death Prophet didn't even get trashed, didn't get beat up repeatedly over and over again. It just took that little bit from the Shadow Demon to knock you out of your normal routine, to keep you out of range of that other half of the lineup, and the DP becomes nearly useless. So you don't have to necessarily be able to just straight up kill the Death Prophet in 1 or 2 hits. All Kim had to do was just keep the DP at arm's length, and everything falls apart.
Yeah, and I think that's where maybe they should try to shift it up, maybe in getting this Queen of Pain. And a Queen of Pain, a 4-1-7, again, they didn't really do a lot of losing in this game. Really, the majority of the deaths are on Sladen, if anyone. Like, no shade thrown, but it's where they didn't have a true frontliner. They didn't have a strength carry. They didn't have someone to go in first. And because of that, they kind of just ran out of gas. And as we have seen with so many teams, the team that has the anti-armor, the team that gets ahead of you, and especially when there are no inherent healers on the field, well, they just simply win the fight if it goes long enough.
Yeah, Lava certainly had that advantage. They were able to really press it to the point where Infamous didn't seem to have too many responses, just too many moving parts, too many big cooldowns, too many things that had to line up perfectly for them to win, and Lava had something that was much more grounded, much more run at you, and easier to execute overall.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how they do now in lower bracket, because Infamous, they've made a few crazy lower bracket runs, but it's still, I think they're going to be at least a little bit upset with themselves.
And as we said, they go up against a Wildcard Gaming lineup that just 2-0'd King of Kings. So, to be perfectly honest, I think Infamous will probably still be favored in that matchup, but I don't think it's going to be as wide a gap as it may have been before we got this playoff bracket started. So, they will have to be careful. Same can be said for our other team dropping into the lower bracket. Hikori put up a solid fight against Thunder Awakened, but now they have to go up against a 4-Zoomers lineup that's picking up momentum and really starting to get maybe a feel for this patch. We've seen things like the Lone Druid from them. We've seen Z-Freak bust out the techies, so Those matchups tomorrow afternoon are going to be very interesting, and that's even before we get to the fact, ET, that there will be elimination on the line for those series as well.
Yeah, no, it's going to be much more higher stakes, much more, well, they have to win. There's no option. But it's also where you wonder if the region difference and the style change, especially with how weighted heroes are differently between the two regions, it's always fun to see NA versus SA.
That inter-regional matchup always gives us some contrasting styles more than I think we see when we've just got an entire matchup from one region or the other. But we shall see. Those are the matchups for tomorrow afternoon. Hikori for Zoomers, along with Infamous versus Wildcard. So we're going to be saying goodbye to some teams tomorrow afternoon. For tonight, though, everybody is still alive. Obviously, that bracket looks a little bit different. So I am getting word we do not have an interview this time around from that lava side. So we're going to be shutting things down here. So upper bracket giving us some excitement here, but again, ET, I'm excited to get to the lower bracket. That was the thing. Our Cryptic and Neff sort of took that first day out from us, so we didn't get that initial elimination threat, but we're going to be diving right into it tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, and we'll see. Hopefully not some 2-0s. It's always better when it's a best of one in a 1-1 series with elimination on deck, and I feel like that's what we might see with the interdivisional rivalries there. But as well, I really want to see what these NA squads are actually able to pull off. If we suddenly see 4 SA squads left in the field down to even, that'll be an interesting sight. But that's also where if both NA squads win, well, you can't always be winners. We'll have to see what happens there.
They both win, then they'll have to knock each other out. But that remains to be seen. That's assuming that they both get through their series tomorrow, and Hikori and Infamous are going to presumably have something to say about it. So we should be getting started at around the same time, 2 p.m. Pacific, for those matches tomorrow. So thank you all for hanging out with us. Hope you enjoyed the matches. We will see you tomorrow afternoon on Beyond the Summit. Thank you all very much.